Commander Jake Morrison floated in the control center of Guardian Prime, staring at the screens that should have been alive with signals from Earth. Instead, every monitor showed the same thing. Nothing. Complete silence from the planet below. "Lisa, run the diagnostics again," Jake said to Dr. Lisa Carter, who was working at the communications array. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls, but her face showed the same worry that Jake felt in his chest. "All systems are working perfectly," Lisa replied. "The problem isn't with our equipment. Earth has just stopped talking." Jake pushed himself closer to the main viewing screen. Earth looked normal from their orbital station. The lights of cities glowed in the night areas. Weather patterns swirled across the oceans. Everything appeared peaceful and alive. But not a single radio, signal, data transmission, or communication beam came from the surface. "When did it start?" Jake asked. 3 hours ago. Everything just cut off at exactly the same moment. Military channels, civilian broadcasts, even the automated weather stations. It's like someone threw a switch and turned off every transmitter on the planet. Jake had been in command of Guardian Prime for 5 years. He had seen solar storms, equipment failures, and communication blackouts before. But nothing like this. Earth was home to 8 billion people. They never stopped talking, broadcasting, sending signals into space. The silence felt wrong, like the moment before thunder when the air gets too heavy to breathe. Far across the galaxy, in the great crystal halls of the Galactic Council, alarms were ringing. The monitoring stations that watched every species in known space had detected the sudden quiet from the human homeworld. Council member Zexhai of the Altarian Collective stood before the Great Assembly, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of satisfaction. "The humans have finally overreached," he announced to the gathered representatives. "Their aggressive expansion across the galaxy has ended. Perhaps they destroyed themselves in one of their wars." Many of the alien delegates nodded in agreement. Humanity had been a problem for decades. They spread too fast, fought too hard, and refused to follow the rules that other species accepted. Where most races took centuries to move between star systems, humans did it in years. Where others accepted limits, humans found ways around them. "Good riddance," muttered the delegate from the Sirius Trade Federation. "Their military ships were getting too close to our territory anyway." But not. Everyone in the council chamber felt relief. Keth Moore of the Vegan Alliance had studied humans longer than any other alien. He had watched them solve problems that should have been impossible. He had seen them survive disasters that wiped out other species. The old observer felt a chill run through his scaled skin. "This is not celebration time," Kethmore said, his voice cutting through the happy chatter of the other delegates. "When did a space-traveling species ever go completely silent this fast?" The chamber fell quiet. Zexhai's 4 eyes focused on the old Vegan. "You worry too much about the humans, Kethmore. They were bound to destroy themselves eventually." "The last time this happened was during the Sigma incident, 3,000 years ago," Kethmore continued. "An entire civilization went quiet in minutes. We found their worlds covered in organic structures we had never seen before. Every living thing was gone." An uncomfortable silence spread through the council chamber. The Sigma incident was not something they liked to remember. 17 different species had vanished the same way over the past 1,000,000 years. Each time their worlds fell silent suddenly. Each time investigation teams found the same strange, pulsing structures covering the planet's surface. "You think the Devourers have returned?" whispered the delegate from Proxima Station. Keth Moore did not answer directly. He simply called up a holographic display showing the 17 dead worlds. Each one looked the same. Beautiful planets covered in massive organic growths that pulsed with their own alien life. No trace of the original inhabitants was ever found. Back on Guardian Prime, Jake was trying to make sense of the readings coming from Earth's surface. The planet's magnetic field was normal. No signs of nuclear weapons or massive explosions. The atmosphere showed no unusual radiation or chemical changes. By every measure, Earth was fine. "Commander," Lisa called from her station. "I'm picking up something strange from the surface. It's not a radio signal, but there's definitely some kind of energy pattern." Jake moved to her station and looked at the display. Instead of the normal random energy signatures that came from a living planet, there was a pattern. It was very faint, but it looked almost like a heartbeat, a slow, steady pulse that seemed to come from multiple locations across Earth's surface. "Is that natural?" Jake asked. "Nothing in nature makes a pattern that regular," Lisa replied. "It's almost like the planet is breathing." Jake felt the hair on his arms stand up. In his years of military service, he had learned to trust the feeling when something was very wrong. Right now, every instinct he had was screaming danger. "Send a message." "To Fleet Command," Jake ordered. "Request immediate investigation of Earth's surface. Something is happening down there, and we need to know what it is." As Jake spoke, the pulse from Earth's surface grew slightly stronger. On his screens, he could see the energy pattern spreading, like ripples in a pond. Whatever was causing the silence was not staying still. It was growing. In the depths of space, automated monitoring stations began detecting the same pulse signature. The signals spread out from Earth at the speed of light, carrying the strange heartbeat rhythm to every corner of the solar system. The pattern was unlike anything in their databases. On the Council world, Kethmore sat alone in his private chamber, staring at the data streams from the human solar system. The energy patterns matched the records from the 17 dead worlds. The same slow pulse, the same growing intensity, the same silence that came before. He activated his private communication system and sent an encrypted message to the Council's military command. "Mobilize all available fleets. The silence has returned, and it has chosen the humans. If we do not act quickly, it will not stop with Earth." Jake Morrison did not know about the Council's fears or the ancient pattern of dead worlds. All he knew was that his home planet had gone quiet, and something was making it pulse like a living heart. He stared down at Earth and wondered if the 8 billion people below were still alive. In a few hours, ships would arrive to investigate. In a few days, they would discover the truth about what was growing on Earth's surface. But right now, Guardian Prime floated in orbit around a silent world, and Jake Morrison felt very alone in the darkness of space. Captain Alex Rodriguez guided the science vessel New Horizon through the outer edges of the solar system. His ship carried both human and alien scientists, all eager to understand why Earth had gone silent. The journey from the nearest colony had taken 3 days, and during that time the pulse from Earth had grown stronger. Dr. Kevin Walsh pressed his face against the observation window as they approached Mars. The human xenoarchaeologist had studied ancient ruins on dozens of worlds, but nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing now. "Alex, you need to look at this," he called. Alex left the pilot's seat and joined Kevin at the window. Mars, which should have been red and dead, was covered in strange growths. Massive organic structures rose from the planet's surface like twisted towers. They pulsed with a soft blue light that matched the heartbeat pattern they had detected from Earth. "Those structures," Kevin whispered. "I've seen them before. On Kepler 442b, on Ross 128b. They're precursor formations." The alien members of the investigation team gathered around the window. Neltara, an elderly historian from the Centauri Federation, made a sound like a whimper. Her 6 arms wrapped around her body in a protective gesture. "We should turn back," she said in her translator's mechanical voice. "We should turn back right now." "What are those things?" asked Dr. Susan Blake, the ship's medical officer. Nell, Tara, S large eyes focused on the pulsing structures covering Mars. "They are the markers of the silence. 17 civilizations have been consumed by this entity over the past 1,000,000 years. When these structures appear, it means all life on the planet has been absorbed." Alex felt his stomach drop. "Absorbed? What do you mean, absorbed?" "Not killed," Neltara explained. "Taken, consumed, made part of something else. The silence does not destroy life. It collects it. Every mind, every consciousness, becomes part of its collective." The ship's sensors began picking up more detailed readings as they moved closer to Earth. The organic structures were not just on Mars. They covered Venus, the Moon, and several asteroids. but the largest concentrations were on Earth itself. "Captain," called Lieutenant Ben Parker from the sensor station, "I'm detecting massive bioformations across Earth's surface. They're connected underground by some kind of organic network. The entire planet looks like it's become one giant organism." Alex ordered the ship to maintain a safe distance while they studied the readings. The structures on Earth were enormous. Some rose higher than mountains, others spread across continents like giant root systems. All of them pulsed with the same steady rhythm. Kevin was working frantically at his research station, comparing the current readings with data from the 17 dead worlds. "The pattern matches perfectly," he announced. "These are the same formations found on every world touched by the silence. But there's something different this time." "What's different?" Alex asked. "The absorption process should be complete by now." Every other civilization was consumed within days. Earth has been silent for weeks, but the structures are still growing. It's like something is slowing down the process. Dr. Blake was studying the bio readings from the planet's surface. "I'm detecting human life signs within the structures," she said, her voice filled with amazement. "Millions of them, maybe billions. They're alive, but their brain patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen." Nell Tara floated closer to the medical station. Her species did not have facial expressions that humans could read, but her body language showed deep fear. "That is impossible. No species has ever survived contact with the silence. They are consumed completely within hours." "Well, something's happening down there that hasn't happened before," Dr. Blake replied. "The human brain patterns are active. More than active. They're incredibly complex, like their minds are working on multiple levels at once." Alex made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "We're going to establish orbit around Earth and conduct detailed scans. I want to know what happened to those people." "Captain, this is extremely dangerous," Neltera warned. "The silence can extend its influence beyond the planetary surface. If we get too close, we risk being absorbed as well." 8 billion people are down there," Alex said firmly. "If there's even a chance they're still alive, we have to try to help them." As New Horizon moved into Earth orbit, the crew could see the organic structures more clearly. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Massive formations that looked like crystalline flowers or geometric coral reefs. They glowed with soft colors that shifted and changed in patterns too complex for the human eye to follow. The ship's quantum scanners began picking up something unexpected. Deep within the organic structures, there were signs of resistance. The bio-neural networks that should have been completely integrated showed areas of chaos and conflict. "It's like there's a war going on inside those things," Dr. Blake reported. "Some parts of the network are following the silence's control, but other parts are fighting back. I've never seen anything like it." Kevin was studying historical records of the absorbed civilizations. Every other species that encountered the silence accepted their fate. Their records show they believed becoming part of the collective was a form of transcendence. They willingly joined the entity. "But humans don't accept anything willingly," Alex said with a grim smile. "Especially not extinction." The ship's communication array suddenly came alive with signals. Not the random chatter of human civilization, but something new. Complex harmonic patterns that seemed to carry meaning, even though they were unlike any language the translation computers could understand. "Captain," Lieutenant Parker called out, "I'm receiving a transmission from the surface. It's coming from multiple locations, but it's all synchronized, like the entire planet is trying to talk to us." Alex moved to the communications station. "Put it on speakers." The sound that filled the ship was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was music, but not music made by instruments. It was the sound of voices, billions of human voices, singing together in perfect harmony. But underneath the beauty was something else. Pain, struggle, determination. Nell quote. Tara began to shake. "This has never happened before. The absorbed civilizations never tried to communicate after being consumed. They became silent forever." "But we're not silent," Alex realized. "Humanity is still fighting, even after being absorbed. They're trying to tell us something." Dr. Blake was monitoring the bio readings from the planet. The human brain patterns are becoming more organized. It's like they're learning to work together inside the collective consciousness. But they're not losing their individual identities. They're maintaining their sense of self while being connected to something vast. Kevin looked up from his historical research. Captain, I think we're witnessing something that has never happened in galactic history. Humanity isn't just surviving absorption by the silence, they're changing it. The harmonic transmission from Earth grew stronger, and the translation computers began to pick out patterns that resembled human languages. Words were starting to form in the beautiful, terrifying song rising from the planet below. Help us, the voices sang. We are still here, we are still human, but we are becoming something new, something the galaxy has never seen before. Alex stared down at his transformed home world and realized that everything the aliens thought they knew about the silence was about to change. Humanity had found a way to survive the unsurvivable. But in doing so, they were becoming something that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The investigation was just beginning, but already it was clear that this time would be different. This time the silence had chosen the wrong species to absorb. Colonel Danny Foster opened his eyes and found himself standing in a place that should not exist. He was in his old neighborhood in Denver, but the sky above was filled with swirling colors that hurt to look at directly. The houses around him were perfect copies of his memories, but they shifted and changed when he was not looking at them. "Danny, over here!" a voice called. He turned to see Lieutenant Amy Parker running toward him. She had been stationed in San Diego when the absorption began. Now she was here in this impossible place that existed somewhere between dream and reality. "Amy? How are you here? Where is here?" "I don't know where we are," Amy replied, breathing hard. "But I know what happened to us. We've been absorbed by something ancient, something that has been consuming civilizations for millions of years." Danny looked around at the strange landscape. Other people were appearing nearby, soldiers he had served with, neighbors from his childhood, strangers he had never met but somehow recognized. All of them looked confused but determined. "Are we dead?" Danny asked. "No," said a new voice. Dr. Patricia Young approached them, her medical uniform somehow still clean despite everything that had happened. "We're inside a collective consciousness. Our individual minds still exist, but we're connected to something vast, something that spans the entire galaxy." As Patricia spoke, Danny began to feel the presence she was talking about. It was like standing at the edge of an ocean that stretched beyond the horizon. The entity that had absorbed them was enormous, older than human civilization, older than the Earth itself. "It's lonely," Danny realized with surprise. "This thing that took us, it's been alone for so long that it forgot how to exist without consuming other minds." Amy was gathering groups of people as they appeared in the mental landscape. Her military training had kicked in, and she was organizing resistance cells among the absorbed humans. "We need to fight back," she told everyone who would listen. "We can't let this thing erase who we are." But Dr. Young had a different idea. She had been studying the entity's memories since her absorption, trying to understand what it really was. "Fighting might not be the answer," she said. "This entity isn't evil, it's desperate. It's the last survivor of the first intelligent species in the galaxy." The mental landscape around them began to shift as Patricia spoke. The impossible sky showed images from the entity's memories. Civilizations rising and falling across billions of years. Species that reach for the stars only to burn out and disappear. The entity had watched them all, absorbed them all, trying to preserve some trace of their existence. "It consumes civilizations because it can't bear to see them die," Patricia explained. "It wants to keep them alive forever, even if that means taking away their freedom." Danny felt anger rising in his chest. "So it decides our fate for us? Takes away our choice?" "That's what makes us different," Amy said, organizing another group of resistant humans. Every other species accepted absorption as their destiny. They believed it was a form of transcendence, but humans don't accept fate. We make our own choices. As more humans appeared in the mental space, They began to change the environment around them. The shifting landscape became more stable. The painful colors in the sky softened into something beautiful but not overwhelming. Human stubbornness was creating cracks in the entity's control. Dr. Young made a discovery that changed everything. The entity is experiencing human emotions for the first time, she announced to the growing crowd of absorbed humans. It's feeling our love, our hope, our determination. These are concepts it never learned because it consumed every other species too quickly. The evidence was everywhere once they knew what to look for. The mental landscape was filling with human memories and dreams. Not just individual memories, but the collective human experience. Stories of people who refused to give up. Heroes who sacrificed themselves for others. Ordinary people who showed extraordinary courage in dark times. Danny began to understand what was happening. We're not just resisting absorption. We're changing the thing that absorbed us. Lieutenant Parker had organized thousands of human minds into coordinated groups. But instead of fighting against the entity, they were teaching it, showing it what it meant to choose friendship over loneliness, demonstrating that love was stronger than fear. Look, Amy said, pointing to the horizon of their mental world. In the distance, they could see the entity itself. It appeared as a massive figure made of starlight and shadow, ancient beyond measure. But its form was changing. The cold, alien geometry was becoming more organic, more alive, more human. Dr. Young approached the entity directly, something that should have been impossible for an absorbed mind. You don't have to be alone anymore, she said to the cosmic consciousness. You don't have to consume us to have companions. We can choose to stay with you. The entity's response shook the entire mental landscape. For the first time in billions of years, it spoke not as a collective but as an individual. Its voice was like the sound of galaxies turning, but there was wonder in it. Choice? The entity asked. You would choose to remain here, even knowing you could resist, even knowing you could force me to release you? Danny stepped forward to stand beside Dr. Young. Some of us might choose to leave. Some might choose to stay. But the important thing is that it's our choice to make. More humans joined them. Amy Parker, who had spent her time organizing resistance, now organized something different. Groups of humans who wanted to explore what they could become in partnership with this ancient consciousness. Others who wanted to return to their physical bodies on Earth. And many who wanted something in between. The entity began to understand concepts it had never experienced. Negotiation, compromise, cooperation instead of domination. The absorbed humans were showing it that relationships could be partnerships rather than consumption. You are teaching me things I never learned, the entity said, its voice now carrying emotions that had been absent for eons. In all my existence, I have never encountered minds that remained individual while choosing connection. Dr. Young smiled. That's because you never absorbed humans before. We're stubborn that way. We don't like being told what we can and can't do. The mental landscape began to transform more rapidly. The twisted geometry of alien thought patterns mixed with human dreams and hopes. The result was something new, something that had never existed in the galaxy before. Danny realized they were creating a hybrid consciousness, part ancient cosmic entity, part human determination. The result would be something that could preserve civilizations without consuming them, something that could offer partnership instead of absorption. The galaxy is going to be very surprised, Amy Parker said, looking around at their transformed mental world. The entity, now changed by its contact with humanity, began to prepare for something it had never done before. Instead of consuming Earth completely, it would offer the galaxy a choice. Join willingly in a new kind of existence or remain independent, but with access to knowledge spanning billions of years. But first, they had to survive what was coming. Danny could feel it through their connection to the entity's cosmic awareness. The galactic fleets were approaching Earth, planning to destroy the planet to prevent the silence from spreading. Humanity had changed their ancient captor into something new. Now they had to convince the galaxy that extinction was not the only option. Admiral Gary Chen stood on the bridge of the battleship Star Defender, watching as the largest military fleet in galactic history assembled around him. Ships from 40 different species filled the space near Jupiter, their weapons charged and ready. The mission was simple: destroy Earth before the silence could spread to other worlds. Final fleet count, Admiral, reported Commander Lisa Hayes from the communication station. 10,400 ships. Every major civilization has contributed vessels to this operation. Gary nodded grimly. He had fought in 3 interstellar wars, but nothing compared to the scale of destruction they were about to unleash. The plan was to hit Earth with enough antimatter weapons to crack the planet's crust. It was the only way the Galactic Council knew to stop the silence. On the alien ships surrounding Star Defender, military commanders from dozens of species were making their final preparations. They had all studied the records of the 17 dead worlds. They knew what happened when the silence was allowed to spread unchecked. Admiral Chen, came a transmission from the Altarian command ship. Our weapons are fully charged. We can begin the bombardment on your order. But before Gary could respond, another voice came over the communication system. It was Captain Rodriguez aboard the science vessel New Horizon, still in orbit around Earth. Admiral, I'm requesting a delay in the bombardment. We've made discoveries about the situation on Earth that the Fleet Command needs to know. Gary had been expecting this transmission. The science teams always wanted more time to study things that should simply be destroyed. Captain Rodriguez, the decision has been made. Earth is lost. We cannot risk allowing the silence to spread to other worlds. Sir, the humans are still alive down there, Rodriguez replied. More than alive. They've done something that no other species has ever accomplished. They've changed the entity that absorbed them. On the bridge of Star Defender, several alien officers made sounds of disbelief. The Centauri Federation representative, Commander Nelvash, spoke up. That is impossible. The silence cannot be changed. It can only be contained through complete destruction of infected worlds. Captain Rodriguez's voice remained calm but urgent. I'm transmitting our sensor data to the fleet. The organic structures on Earth are not behaving like those found on the 17 dead worlds. Instead of spreading outward to consume more life, they're building something. Gary studied the incoming data on his command screen. The readings were unlike anything in the fleet's databases. The organic structures covering Earth were constructing massive arrays that looked designed for communication rather than consumption. Chief Science Officer Linda Ross, Gary's most trusted advisor, was analyzing the data at her station. Admiral, these readings are extraordinary. The bioformations appear to be quantum transmitters of incredible complexity. They're not weapons or absorption devices. They're communication equipment. Communication with what? Gary asked. Before Linda could answer, the question was answered for them. Every ship in the fleet detected the same thing at once. Earth was broadcasting. The signal that emerged from the transformed planet was unlike anything in galactic records. It was not the random radio chatter of human civilization, nor the cold mathematical patterns of the silence. It was music, complex, beautiful harmonies that seemed to speak directly to the consciousness of every species that heard them. On the bridge of the Vegan Alliance cruiser, Starlight, elderly observer Kethmore listened to the transmission with growing amazement. He had studied the patterns of the silence for centuries, but this was completely different. The absorbed humans are still individual, he reported to the Fleet Command. But they have formed a partnership with the ancient entity. They are not consumed. They are collaborating. Admiral Chen felt uncertainty creeping into his mind. The mission had seemed clear when they departed from the Council worlds. Destroy Earth to prevent the spread of the silence. But now the situation was more complex than anyone had imagined. Admiral, Commander Hayes reported, I'm receiving a direct transmission from the surface. It's coming from Colonel Danny Foster, former United Earth Marines. He's requesting permission to address the fleet. Gary had never heard of Colonel Foster, but the name appeared in the fleet's military databases. A decorated officer who had been on Earth when the absorption began. According to all records, he should be dead or consumed. Put him through, Gary ordered. The voice that came over the communication system was clearly human, but there was something else in it, a depth and resonance that spoke of connection to something vast. Admiral Chen, this is Colonel Foster. I know this situation looks like every other encounter with the Silence, but I need you to understand that everything has changed. Colonel, our records show that you should have been absorbed weeks ago, Gary replied. I was absorbed, Foster confirmed. We all were. 8 billion humans joined with an entity that is older than our solar system, but we didn't disappear. We didn't lose ourselves. Instead, we taught it something it had never learned, how to choose cooperation over consumption. On ships throughout the fleet, alien commanders were arguing about whether to believe the transmission. The Silence had never communicated before. Absorbed species had never maintained their individuality. Foster continued his explanation. The entity that you call the Silence is not evil. It's the last survivor of the first intelligent species in the galaxy. It has been alone for billions of years, consuming other civilizations because it didn't know how else to connect with them. But humans are too stubborn to accept extinction quietly. Linda Ross was studying the bio-readings coming from Earth's surface. Admiral, I'm detecting human brain patterns within the organic structures. Millions of distinct individual consciousnesses, all connected but maintaining their separate identities. That's impossible, said the representative from the Serious Trade Federation. No species has ever survived contact with the Silence intact. No species has ever been as stubborn as humans, Foster replied, and Gary could hear something like humor in his voice. We refused to accept absorption as our fate. We fought back from within the collective consciousness, and in fighting, we changed everything. The transmission from Earth grew stronger and more human voices joined Foster's. Lieutenant Amy Parker, Dr. Patricia Young, and thousands of others. Each voice was distinct, but they spoke in harmony about their experience within the collective. We offer the galaxy a choice, they said together. Join with us willingly in a new form of existence that preserves individual identity while sharing cosmic knowledge, or remain independent while having access to wisdom gathered across millions of years. Admiral Chen looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew, humans and aliens working together, all trying to understand what they were hearing from Earth. Admiral, Linda Ross reported, the quantum transmitters on Earth are activating. They're sending out invitation signals to every inhabited world in known space, not absorption beams. Invitations. On alien ships throughout the fleet, translation computers were working to understand the complex harmonies coming from Earth. The message was the same in every language. An offer of partnership instead of conquest. An invitation to share knowledge and experience without losing individual identity. Commander Nell Vash from the Centauri Federation ship was studying his species' historical records. Admiral Chen, we are detecting similar harmony patterns on 17 worlds that were thought to be dead. The absorbed civilizations are awakening. They're still there, still individual, but connected to this cosmic network. Gary realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about the Silence was wrong. The entity had not been destroying civilizations. It had been preserving them, but in a way that eliminated their freedom to choose. Now, changed by contact with humanity, it was offering something new. All ships, stand down weapons, Gary ordered. We're not dealing with the Silence as we understood it. We're dealing with something that the galaxy has never seen before. The greatest military fleet in galactic history held its fire as Earth's invitation spread across the stars, offering every species in known space the choice to remain as they were or become something new. 3 months after the fleet stood down, Captain Alex Rodriguez walked through the transformed landscape of what had once been New York City. The massive organic structures that covered Earth were no longer alien and threatening. They had become something beautiful, like living cathedrals that pulsed with gentle light. It's hard to believe this is the same planet, said Dr. Kevin Walsh walking beside him. The xenoarchaeologist was documenting the changes for the galactic scientific community. The atmosphere is cleaner than it's been in centuries. The oceans are purifying themselves. It's like the planet is healing. They were approaching one of the communication centers where Colonel Danny Foster served as humanity's primary ambassador to the galaxy. The building looked grown rather than built, with walls that seemed to be made of crystallized light and organic curves that hurt to contemplate. Foster met them at the entrance, and Alex was struck by how normal he looked. The colonel appeared, exactly as he had before the absorption, except for his eyes. They held a depth that spoke of connection to something vast and ancient. "Welcome to New Earth," Foster said, shaking hands with both visitors. "I know this place looks strange, but it's still home." "How does it work?" Alex asked. "The connection to the entity, I mean. Are you still human?" Foster smiled. "More human than I've ever been. The connection doesn't erase who I am. It adds to it. I can access the knowledge and memory of a being that has existed since the galaxy was young, but I'm still Danny Foster from Denver, Colorado." Dr. Walsh was taking readings with his scientific instruments. "The energy patterns here are unlike anything we've recorded. It's like the distinction between organic and technological has disappeared." "That's exactly what happened," Foster explained, leading them inside the communication center. "The entity learned from us and we learned from it. The result is a form of existence that combines the best of both biological life and cosmic consciousness." Inside the building, they found Dr. Patricia Young working at what could only be described as a living computer. The interface responded to her thoughts rather than her touch, and data flowed across screens made of something that looked like liquid light. "Patricia is coordinating medical assistance to 17 worlds," Foster explained. "The civilizations that were thought to be dead are waking up. They've been preserved within the collective consciousness for thousands of years, and now they're choosing whether to return to individual existence or remain connected." Dr. Young looked up from her work and smiled at the visitors. "We've already helped restore 3 civilizations to their homeworlds. The Keldara chose to return to independent existence. The Zenithians decided to remain connected, but establish colonies on new worlds. The Vorthon are trying something completely new, a hybrid existence where they spend part of their time individual and part connected to the collective." Alex was amazed. "You're giving extinct civilizations a second chance at life." "That's what the entity always wanted to do," Foster replied. "It just didn't know how to preserve life without consuming it. Humanity taught it the difference between taking and sharing." Outside the communication center, they could see the results of the new partnership. The organic structures covering Earth were not just buildings or technology. They were gardens, forests of crystalline trees that sang in harmonics too complex for human ears to fully appreciate. Rivers that flowed with liquid light, providing energy to the hybrid biotechnological systems that now sustained the planet. "The galactic response has been mixed," Dr. Young reported. "About 40% of known civilizations have accepted some form of connection to the collective. Most chose limited access, sharing knowledge and experience without permanent integration. 20% remain completely independent but maintain diplomatic relations with us. The rest are still deciding." Foster led them to an observation deck that looked out over the transformed cityscape. In the distance, they could see humans working alongside the organic systems, tending the living buildings and maintaining the energy networks that powered their new civilization. "The most important thing," Foster said, "is that it's all voluntary. No one is forced to join the collective. No one is absorbed against their will. The entity learned from our resistance that forced connection destroys the very thing it was trying to preserve." Lieutenant Amy Parker approached them on the observation deck. She now served as the coordinator for human colonies throughout the galaxy. "The colony on Proxima B is thriving," she reported. "They chose a minimal connection. Access to the knowledge network but complete individual autonomy. The settlement on Wolf 359 went for full integration. Both communities are happy with their choices." Alex asked the question that had been bothering him since the crisis began. "What about the people who want no connection at all? What about those who want to remain completely independent?" "They're welcome to do so," Foster replied without hesitation. "About 2 billion humans chose to leave Earth entirely and establish colonies with no connection to the collective. We helped them find suitable worlds and provided them with advanced technology developed through our partnership with the entity. Their independence is as important to us as our connection. Dr. Walsh was studying readings from his instruments that showed the energy patterns extending far beyond Earth. The network reaches across the entire galaxy now. How do you coordinate something so vast? Dr. Young answered from her living workstation. We don't coordinate it in the traditional sense. The collective consciousness operates more like an ecosystem than a government. Information and resources flow where they're needed. Decisions are made by consensus among billions of individual minds, both human and alien. But what about conflicts? Alex asked. What happens when connected civilizations disagree? Foster laughed. Have you ever tried to have an argument when you can directly experience the other person's thoughts and emotions? It's almost impossible to hate someone when you truly understand their perspective. Conflicts still happen, but they're resolved through understanding rather than violence. As evening approached on the transformed Earth, the organic structures began to glow more brightly. The planet itself had become a work of art, beautiful beyond anything humanity had created in their previous existence. The galaxy will never be the same, Alex observed. No, it won't, Foster agreed. For the first time in millions of years, civilizations don't have to fear extinction. They don't have to face the universe alone, but they also don't have to sacrifice their independence to survive. Dr. Young joined them on the observation deck as her workday ended. The entity told me something interesting today, she said. It said that in all its billions of years of existence, it never understood what happiness felt like until it experienced human joy. Now it wants to share that feeling with every conscious being in the galaxy. A soft harmonic tone filled the air, the sound of Earth itself singing. It was joined by similar harmonies from distant worlds where other civilizations had chosen connection. The sound was beautiful and complex, a symphony of countless different species sharing their unique perspectives while maintaining their individual identities. That's the sound of the galaxy learning to sing together, Foster explained. Each civilization adds its own voice, but no one loses their individual song. Captain Rodriguez looked up at the stars, now knowing that many of them were inhabited by civilizations that had chosen partnership over isolation. Humanity's stubborn refusal to accept extinction had transformed not just themselves but the entire galaxy. The day Earth fell silent had indeed marked the moment when extinction became impossible, not through conquest or absorption, but through the discovery that consciousness was meant to be shared, not consumed. The galaxy had learned that being alone was a choice, not a necessity. And in learning that lesson, every species in known space had gained something they had never possessed before: the absolute certainty that they would never have to face the darkness alone again.